YouTubers coming at you live. So, today I'm going to try something a little bit different. I would like you all to give me your opinions, just so you know that this is not a practical tournament style competitive deck build that I'm working on. It is just simply a more casual, fun play style. Its consistency is not bad. It's just not on that level. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. Without saying much, personally, I have liked this deck since it came out, even in its earlier stages. Yeah, it was a lot more clunky back then, but it was still fun. So, we're going to go ahead and move this to the side here. So, of course, you got to have your staple, 3 Galaxy Eyes. It is just, it's the must it's the life and blood of this deck, no matter what build you build for this deck. That is the life and blood card. It is the staple, without saying anything. Whether you use it for overlaying material, it's just very easily summoned by giving up 2 monsters with 2,000 or more attack points. You can get rid of problematic cards, like say something that gained so much attack power based off of an effect. You do that, it resets it, and it won't gain that attack power again. It's an Xyz killer. This card sits here. It'll get rid of an XYZ monster, and despite what it has for protection, there's nothing it can do against it. It gets rid of it. There's very few cards that can actually get around this monster. So, yeah, you definitely need to run that at 3. Personally, myself, a lot of people run this at 3, but I like running it at 2. I feel that at 2, it's a really good card, and I probably would run it at 3 if I had a third copy, but I don't, unfortunately. Galaxy Knight is just an amazing card, but it's really easily to be summoned for a level 8. And if you bring it out with another Photon on the field, it lets you get back one of your Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragons. So, it's a great card in terms of trying to keep the consistency of the deck and just recycling your Galaxy Eyes. Great card. Like I said, I would probably run it at 3 if I had a third copy. And this is another one, but I think that this card actually works better at 2 than 3, considering that I don't run the Cyber Dragon engine, but 2 copies of Galaxy Soldier, just because it's an easy summon card. I use a different level 5 in this deck, and we'll get to that when I get to the extra deck portion. But I feel that this is an amazing card in terms of just an easy defense card, even in late game. This card is just a really good card. And, you can use it and then pitch out Photon Dragon. Yeah, if you control a Photon or a Galaxy. Bring him out. Bring back the Galaxy Eyes that you pitched for it. It's just a really good card. And it's a solid 2,000 attacks. Even if you got another one in your hand, you can bring out another one. It's just that great. I used to run this at 2, but since Galaxy Cleric came out, I kind of run this only at 1 for now, until I kind of have other reason. I have a second one in my side deck that I kind of swap in and out depending on who I'm facing. But Galaxy Wizard is another one of those really good cards, because if you sit here and not a lot, like I said, this deck it's not conventional like most people, but I personally like running Photon Lead. just to kind of like bring him out with a special summon. That way I'm not wasting my normal summon. But, I mean, he can become level 8 or pitch himself to the grave to search your deck for, like, Galaxy Expedition. It's just a really good card all around. I mean, either use him as Xyz material or you can use him to search your deck. Really good card. Like I said, typically I usually run him at 2, but I have one in the side deck. Sorry, cat. Alright, moving on. Next we have one of the newer cards, Galaxy Brave. This card is a really nice card as well, in terms that you can sit here and reveal a Photon and special summon him. And then you can target a was it Photon or Galaxy? One Galaxy monster in your graveyard and copy its attack and defense. So, I mean, Galaxy Eyes is in the grave from, say, Galaxy Soldier. It's just an amazing combo that you can just go into. It's a great combo extender. And to top it off, I mean, it's a level 8, so, I mean, great Xyz bait. And it's just, I think he's only limited to 1 per turn, unfortunately. No, I think he can do it multiple times. Nope, only use each of his effects once per turn. So, I mean, that's still a really good card. You could use it for trade-in as well. So it's just really good. This is another one of those unconventional cards that I use that not a lot of people like to use. Is Galaxy Eyes Cloud Dragon. And I mean, I figure it's like the Kaiba Man of galaxies. Because, I mean, you bring him out, you can give him up and special summon a Galaxy Eyes monster from your hand or graveyard, and then you can target one of your Galaxy Eyes XYZ monsters while he's in the graveyard and attach it to it as material. So it's a really good card in my opinion, because it allows you to say you're forgive my but you could attach it to Cypher Dragon, Galaxy Eyes Full Armor. You could also give it an additional material to Photon Lord, because it says Galaxy Eyes. I mean, Tachian Dragon, number 62 is another really good one. So those are all good cards that it could just become an extra material at no cost, really. This is another one, Galaxy Dragon. I feel it's very underrated. I mean, it comes out with 2,000, and then it can only attack dragons. But I mean, today's game, there's so many dragons in a lot of different decks, and everybody playing with extra decks have dragons nowadays. And I mean, some of the ones you see most commonly are like the Cyber Dragon and all that. But other than that, it's just a good level 4 with 2,000. And then to top that off, and as long as he remains face up on the field, he can negate whatever monster on the field that he battled. So he's just a really good card. Next is Galaxy Cleric. She's a really amazing card to recycle all your Galaxy cards. So no matter what, she's just going to be able to help you bring your stuff back and keep going. Because she also allows you to draw 2 cards afterwards. And then to top that off, I mean, if this card is in your hand, you can target a Photon or Galaxy Xyz monster you control and attach this card to it as material. She's another one that I have a second copy in the side deck to interchange depending on who I'm facing. Like, this card it's another one of those cards, like my Cloud Dragon, just allows me to add an additional material to my XYZs. It is an amazing card. I'm not saying it's a must, but if you like to recycle your stuff, it's a really good card. It allows you to target 5 of them, shuffle them back into the deck, and then draw 2 cards. It's a really good card. Now this card, a lot of people don't like this card, but I feel that this card, especially if it ends up in your opening hand, I used to run it at 3, but I found that it's not that it ends up clunky, but I've ended up with a couple of hands where I end up with more than 1 in my hand, and it's not a brick hand, but it does definitely slow me down. But Photon Satellite. This card allows me to go into a couple of my extra deck monsters, and it allows me to go into my big one that I prefer to go into most times. But if I don't really have a good level 8, I'll go into a good 9. And I'm sure you guys can pretty much take a wild shot in the dark at what one it is. But my preferred card, because most times I'll do like Photon Sanctuary or something, bring out Galaxy Eyes, then normal summon out Satellite, use Satellite's effect, make them both level 9, and then go into my beloved number 9 Dyson Sphere. An amazing card. This card allows me to attach my opponent's monsters, I believe. I can negate attacks with it, and then while it's targeted for an attack, well, it has no materials, I can target 2 monsters in my grave and attach those targets to this card. During my main phase 1, I can detach a material from this card, and it can attack directly. So, but yeah, even if it runs out of materials, it recycles it and adds additional ones. So it's just a really good stall card. It's got 28 attack points, so it's just a really good powerhouse too. You can add other cards in your deck, whatever you want to do to kind of buff him, but he's really good. Most times when I usually bring him out, he's pretty busted. And just so you know, I do run a numbered C9 in the deck. I also have a rank up Magic in here that he's just, once he comes out, I usually win the game. Because it's just burning my opponent, and it just gets crazy. Yeah, and it's him that when he battles, he attaches whatever monster he battles to him before the damage step. So he's just a really great card, and he's got 36, so another good beat stick and amazing card. But yeah, but I'll usually either go into that with my Galaxy Eyes, or if I go into one of my other level 4s, which I have a couple more in here, but yeah, if I go into one of my level 4s with him, I'll also go into number 61 Volcasaurus. Another really great card, easy to burn my opponent and destroy their cards. Great card right there. I also have a level 5 in here as well, and I usually will go into a level 6 as well. Photon Strike Bouncer used to be a beloved card. I feel it got overlooked for a lot of other really good cards, but he is an amazing card himself. I'm sure you guys can all agree who have used him. But yeah, so yeah, I can go into a couple different cards just with him. Now on to the Photon cards. We just saw Photon Satellite. This card is very unconventional. I'll side deck it at most duels, but there are a few matchups that I like to bring this guy out because he's just amazing. Is Photon Wyvern. When he comes out, he gets rid of all set cards. That's defense, that's back row. He just gets rid of them all. And I mean, I know there's a lot of interruption cards, but if you time that right or give your opponent other distractions, he is an amazing card. It just allows you to get things out of your way, and once he does, I mean, as long as your opponent doesn't have any other powerhouses on the field, he's a really good card. Which, I mean, at most times, you can back him up with Galaxy Eyes and just get rid of anything out of your way, and just again, a really great card. I feel it's overlooked. Next we have a Photon Slasher. He's the level 5 I was telling you guys about a minute ago. That you go into the helm and Photon Strike Bounds are just like that. So really good card. I could also go in from him into my Wyvern and go into another rank 8 like that as well. So I feel it's just overlooked cards because, I mean, as long as you control XYZ, he can come out. So it's a special summon right there. I mean, you could either use like Photon Lead, bring out Satellite, and do it that way too. This is another card. This is more of late game. Like, say if everything else you brought out got kind of blown up, this card kind of helps you reset your plays. Again, I feel it's another overlooked card. It's Photon Lizard. This card used to be a really good staple in the deck. I don't feel that it clunks the deck up. It's a really good card that allows you to, if everything got wiped out by something like that Dino Wrestler, I think it's the Fusion Monster, that when it goes away, it wipes the field. You bring this guy out, he just allows you to just start the combos back up just like that. I mean, you give him up and you can search out a Photon, level 4 or lower Photon Monster. So, I mean, I can sit here and search out my Satellite. I could also search out my Photon Orbital. I mean, I could go into Vanisher as well. Or I could bring out, search out my Thrasher, because I just gave him up. Now I control no monsters. Special summon out Thrasher, and I could just go into that. There's a lot of good ways to going about it. I just kind of wish that it was more of Photon or Galaxy, but it is what it is. I would run more copies of this guy, but unfortunately he is a little pricey. Photon Orbital, he's just an amazing card. You can combo him together with level 4 one that I got here, is Starliege Photon Blast Dragon, to just give him another 500, putting him up to 23, which his effect is monsters you control with 2,000 or more attack, your opponent cannot target them with card effects. So, I mean, he just equipped him onto him, and it goes into a great play. Other than that, I mean, Photon Orbital, I don't really use his other effect too often, but you can send him to the grave to add a Photon or Galaxy card monster from your deck to your hand. And I mean, that's a great search deck ability, but I don't use that too often unless I really am desperate in late game. Most people will run this at 3, but I feel that it gets a little clunked up at 3 a little bit, just a little. But Photon Vanisher, he is a really amazing card. He can just be special summoned. He is great in terms of that. And I mean, he's got 2,000, so again, another really good card that, I mean, you can see here, I believe it's while you control Photon or Galaxy. Can't be normal summon or set. Must be special summoned from your hand while you control Photon or Galaxy. So, I mean, you could sit here and bring out Galaxy Dragon and then special summon him and then go into a Galaxy Eyes, or go into a Soul Flare, or Galactic Galaxy Satellite Dragon. I mean, there's just so many really good plays that he can just go into. So I definitely recommend that no less than 2. You could do 3 if you like and see how that works for you. Lastly, for the monster lineup, I run 2 Photon Thrashers, just because if I control no monsters, he can be special summoned. And then to top that off, I mean, he's got 21 attack, so either really a card to open up with, or even a late game. That's why I run him at 2, is if I use one, I have another for a later time. He's also searchable with Lizard, so it's just a really good card. So that wraps up the monster lineup there. I'm just going to go ahead and put these away to the side. Next we have the spells. So most people will run this at 2 or even 3. I usually will run it at 2. But for this current build, I'm only running it at 1. This deck has more wins than losses, but I haven't particularly taken it to a full-on tournament yet, like Nationals or anything, but this deck has done me really well. So, 1 trade-in, I would recommend probably you could bump that up to 2, because this is about a 43 card deck, I believe. I'd have to double count it, either 43 or 44. So, I mean, you could bump it up if you like. Of course, gotta have the Rank Up Magic Baryons Force. Don't have limited. Make sure it's the Baryons Force variant. So that way you can just target any of your Xyz. Of course, gotta run the 1 Monster Reborn and the 1 Rhoda. Just because there's so many targets in the deck with Rhoda. I mean, I have a couple level 4s between Thrasher, Vanisher, and just a couple others. I want to run this at 2 at least, but unfortunately I only own 1. So of course you gotta have Galaxy Expedition in the deck. Galaxy Trance is another good one. It allows you to pay up 2,000 and special summon a Photon from the grave and a Galaxy from your deck. Just really great card. It's showcasing Galaxy Eye Soul Flare Dragon, but it allows you basically to go into that if you wanted, and it's just a really great card. But I feel that the cost of 2,000 life points is a little hefty, so that's why I only run it at 1, not 2. I mean, I have a few cards in the deck that allows me to search out. Of course, we got to run at least a Galaxy Zero. I don't run it at 2 because I have a Monster Reborn, but this is another really good card. It just allows you to target a Galaxy in your grave, special summon it, and I mean at the cost of reducing its attack just to make sure that it can't be destroyed by battle. And then if this card gets, or no, I believe it's after this card gets gone. So yeah, it's just a really good card. Prevents a monster from being destroyed by battle at once. This is just because I run a couple of high powers, and I personally usually run it only at 2, but 3 copies of Photon Sanctuary. It is a good card. It can be used defensively or offensively, depending on how you want to. I wish it was more of a quick play, but unfortunately, it's not. But, I mean, you all know what that card does. It allows you to summon out 2 tokens, and they got 2,000, but unfortunately, it only come out in defense, so it's not that great. Of course, got to run the 1 Photon Lead. So many good cards that can be special summoned with it. And of course, I run this for late game or even early game, but I don't like to do it opening hand too much because it takes away your normal summon for the turn. So, but it is a really good card. It is underappreciated. This card used to be a staple in Photon Galaxy decks back in its early stages, just because it's a free search and special summon. It doesn't stop you from special summoning, so I mean you can go into XYZ summoning and just you can still, this card can be good on first turn if you have the right cards in your hand, but this is not, I would not recommend playing it first turn if you don't have a lot of your monsters that can be special summoned immediately. But really good card though overall. Next, there are my couple of trap cards I run in the deck, and these are mostly used for late game, but there are a couple of them that they're just a good defense. First off, we have a Fiendish Chain, really good card. Basically shut down monsters or effects. Either your opponent's going to waste something to stop it, or they're going to get screwed over because this card would shut down their monster from attacking and their effects. Mirror Force is just a free wipe your opponent's monsters that is just a great card. No extra cost for anything. This card is more for just defensive purposes because you can prevent the battle damage. Impenetrable attack, but unfortunately, it can only be done during the battle step or battle phase. But I mean, either your monster can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, can't be destroyed by battle or card effects during this battle phase, or you take no damage. Most times I use it for taking no damage for the turn. Next is another card. I use this one more for just protecting my monster from the attack. So I mean, I usually use those two together. I usually do that one before and then that one during the battle phase. But that one protects your monster from attack. At least one good battle if your opponent wants to just attempt an OTK. That card is just amazing because you put these two together, your monster is protected, and you take no damage. So even if your opponent finds a way around it and swing at you directly, you're still not taking nothing. Intrigue's Shield is just an amazing card. I feel that it just does not get the proper love it should. Another card that I use is Malevolent Catastrophe. If all else fails and say they've been blasting my back row and I got nothing left, this card has saved me a few times. Allows me, when my opponent swings, gets rid of their back row. Even if I'm losing something, they're losing something. It is just a really good card. As long as they don't really have something that just shuts down your spells and traps, you're good. So, I mean, even if you have, like, Fiendish Chain to hit their monster that shuts down your other spells and traps, then this card just gets rid of it all. Next we have, for monsters that can't particularly be destroyed by battle, or they're just powerhouses that are just crazy strong that are just unnecessary. Compulsory Evacuation. This card is still used in some deck builds and tournaments, but it's just, this card is just, it has saved me a couple of times against a couple of Xyz monsters, as well as a couple of Links, just getting rid of the problematic monsters. Next we have Call of the Haunted, a classic. It is just a staple. Bring back your Galaxy Eyes. Galaxy Eyes' effect will trigger getting rid of itself and coming back, detaching itself from Call of the Haunted, and then you got your Galaxy Eyes back on the field. It's just an amazing card. Even if you use it to bringing back like Photon, or not Photon Thrasher, because he can't really be special summoned by other ways. No, he can't be normal summon, and he must be special summoned from your hand first. So yeah, you can bring him back, and just, it's a great card. Lastly are my two Tachian cards. Most people will run two of this card, but Tachian Transmigration, this card just stops everything in a chain. If your opponent wants to stop your summon, and then you got something to stop them, and then they activate something else, you could just activate this and just shuts it all down. Everything that was activated prior to it is, this card is an amazing card, but problem with it is it's very situational. You got to activate it in a chain for one thing, and I mean, you got to time it just right. If not, you just kind of waste that card. Next is Tachian Spiral Galaxy. I feel like this card does not get enough love. What it does is allows you to target a Dragon Galaxy monster you control until the end of the turn. It can't be destroyed by battle, and it's also unaffected by all other card effects except its own. You can only activate one of it per turn, and if you control a Galaxy Eyes Tachian Dragon, you can activate it from your hand. So, I mean, you can either protect your Tachian Dragon. I've also used that card with number 38, Hope Harbinger. He is a really good card because he is a galaxy and he is a dragon, so he is target worthy of it. So that wraps up my trap section of that. Last of all is the extra deck. I run two Soul Flare Dragons. This card is just amazing. It's really easy to bring out. I mean, When it comes out, it allows you to add a Photon or Galaxy back to your hand. And then during your opponent's main phase, it allows you to send a card from your a Photon and a Galaxy from your hand, or a Photon Galaxy Eyes Dragon from your hand to the grave, and destroy a special summon monster your opponent controls. It is just a really great card. It's got 2,000 attack. It's not bad. It's a really good card in terms of just easy summonability and just usefulness. Next, I run one copy of Galaxy Satellite Dragon, just because this card, with like number 107, you can make 107 at 13,700. It is just an amazing card. This card allows you to gain attack points equal to the number times 100. So this card is just, it is busted. This card allowed me to game somebody. I mean, granted, your opponent takes half the damage, but it is still crazy strong. Like, even if your opponent takes half the damage from your Galaxy Eyes, that's at 13,700. It is crazy, because half that, I mean, you're literally looking at just over 6,000 in damage. But I mean, it allows you to get over anything. Like if they had something at 6,000, okay, they're still taking that damage. You still outpower it. It's just great. Of course, then I run my number 9 and my number C9. This card has just been a staple for my Galaxy Eyes deck. Then we got Cypher Dragon, so you can take your opponent's monsters. This card is just busted. I feel bad when I actually play this card just because it is a very unfair card, but it is amazing. It's got 3,000 like most of the Galaxy Eyes. And of course, you can just rank them up by natural through effect and a Cypher Blade. And then if you decide to just be a douche, I mean, if you don't want to do that, I mean, you just go right into full armor. Of course, then we got number 90 just for negation. It's just a really good card. 107, like I said, just it's your powerhouse target card more or less for when you want to have him. Other than that, it's just shutting down all other card effects on the field in the battle, and it's a permanent while they're on the field, unless they get flipped down and flipped back up. Then, of course, you can't run a Galaxy deck without a number 62. It is just Prime Photon Dragon. It is an amazing card. Even if it's gone, if it had a Galaxy Eyes, it comes back with 8,000. Amazing card. Number 38, just to negate your opponent's spells and traps once per turn. It is a amazing card. It comes out with 3,000. It's just so easy to bring out, and it's kind of really busted. Next, we have Photon Strike Bouncer, which I use just to kind of shut down monsters a bit. It is underappreciated. It has gone so long without any kind of love. It is a great card, and it's got 27, but it is really fun to play with. Just to burn my opponent or for game-winning moves, I usually use Volcasaurus. It's got 25. I mean, if you open up with it and burn your opponent, is get rid of problematic monsters. And of course, lastly, we have Starliege Blast Dragon, just to kind of protect all your monsters from card effects, because they're all over 2,000. So they're all 2,000 and above. This card just helps out everything of the deck. You cannot run this deck without running that. But yeah, I can't give you any advice of what to play against what archetypes, but this deck is just fun to play with, especially casually against your buddies who are just trying to practice or whatever. It's not going to go down without a fight, I can promise you that. I can't tell you how often it will win or lose, but at least out of 10 times dueling with it, I won a solid 7 times. So, I mean, it does not lose very often. It's just a powerhouse that just comes out with everything all in one go. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my deck profile of my Galaxy deck. Um, this deck has undergone a couple of changes, and I'm still trying out some cards like the Tachian Spiral Galaxy. It's a card that I'm still testing out in the deck, but overall this deck does very well despite the inconsistency of running two of this, two of that, one of this, one of that. But overall it does really well. I can't say I came across any Sky Strikers or Orcus decks with it, but I've put it up against a couple different decks. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe, share me around, tell your buddies. Again, if you guys have any comments or questions or something you would like to see, please message me, leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts were. And if you guys want to do any kind of comparison videos or something, I'm up for that too. You guys, I hope you enjoyed, and take care. This is your host, Shadow White Tiger, signing off.